afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. We hope it is good. Welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carcello in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Joined by my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing today?
Ray, what's the temperature in Los Angeles?
I believe it's about 92 degrees.
92 degrees. This mere mortal lives in 92 degrees. Ray, it's also 92 degrees here in Philadelphia today, thus taking away your heating powers of Los Angeles. No fire tornadoes and no water drought here, but it is hot here in Philadelphia, Ray, and we all know how much I love the heat. That's satire. I really don't like the heat. But Ray, listen,
don't like sand. I
don't like sun. Unfortunately, we need it to survive here. Ray, I went to go print out a rundown. For those of you,
Yes.
I've always been like David Letterman with the shows. I print the rundown out for the show. Normally, I won't do that. I'll have a digital version, but hey, I'm a nostalgist with this show. And I printed it out, and it came out on this insanely, you can kind of hear it, heavy paper stock because we were doing some work here.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, this is a Constitution-esque rundown today. It's on such strong paper. And Staples is going to be our non-sponsor today because at Staples you can get this paper. And Ray, the non-sponsorship, for those of you listening, especially you at Staples who should probably hear this, is an ode to the little daily things that we do that we don't acknowledge a lot, right? Staples got this paper. It's thick cardstock. There's other shops where sell this paper, but Staples provides all of the needs for the office. I'm in a set in an office. Staples is our non-sponsor today. And not only that, Ray, not only can you get paper at Staples, you can get filing things, calendars, you can get office supplies, you can get computers, tablets, keyboards. When I was a kid, you could get stereos, you could get VHS tapes. Not anymore, though, Staples. Those are gone. Cassettes, right? It's a store that has survived an exodus of a lot of stores of its types. It's made the deal. And it has one of the greatest logos in history. Staples.
Yes.
It's something else.
It's something else. Yes, and go shop at Staples. So maybe they'll go buy the rights back to the crypto.com arena and call it the Staples Center again.
It was a way better name.
It was a way better name down in downtown LA than the crypto.com.
Let's be honest. That arena is probably begging Staples. Like, listen, we'll give you a 10-year discount. Please come back to being Staples Center. I think people still call it Staples Center to the delight of Staples because or the stadium formerly known as Staples Center.
or yes, exactly. Or we call it crypto.com and then we're like, oh, I can't believe we have to call it that.
It was one of the most amazing oversights in history that they were able to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long that lease is, but it's amazing what a boom that was and how quickly it went away.
Yeah, no, that whole area down in LA Live is constantly changing. Like, I think it was the Microsoft Center is now the Peacock Center.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, like you can live with that, like obviously, but
even Climate Change Arena is a better name now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Climate Change Arena is way better than crypto.com.
Yeah, that was brutal when they did that. We got to make a statement in Los Angeles and in courtrooms across the country.
I guess. Anyway, but
Staples, the non-sponsor of the day, Staples.
Yes,
it's something else.
Yes, but of course the Lakers play at the arena formerly known as the Staples Center, and also the Clippers. Neither one of them were the NBA finals, excuse me, because we as we accurately predicted, both those teams were going to collapse. But the Dallas Mavericks were in the NBA finals, but not for very long. The Boston Celtics absolutely demolished them. Yes. We predicted a sweep, but they took 5 games, which I guess good for Boston that they win one game 5 in Boston. Dallas held home court, didn't want them celebrating on their home court, came out on fire. Boston came out a little flat in game 4, and then the exact opposite. Boston just literally just demolished them, just an absolute drubbing. Jason Tatum was the MVP. This was one of the most lopsided NBA finals I've ever seen in my life, I think. Lee, congratulations, I guess, to the Boston Celtics, who now have sole possession of the most championships in NBA history with number 18. And now Boston fans will find something else to cry about because that's what they do. But anyway, Lee, what are your thoughts on the NBA finals? We got a big show for you today, folks. By the way, we got a lot of stuff. We're just getting started. We got a whole lot of stuff. We went into the non-sponsor. We got games. We got TV. We got all the sports. Start with basketball. Lee, NBA Finals. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, congratulations to the Boston Celtics. You have to do that. They are one of the greatest franchises in sports history. No matter what anybody thinks about Boston or any of the other teams, they rank up there amongst the Yankees and the Montreal Canadiens, as do the Lakers, to be fair to them. But there's something that I don't understand that's happening today, Ray, and I don't know if this is purposely being done for clicks or if it's like a legitimate thing, but I'm seeing so many posts about the drought in Boston of championships, that they haven't won anything since 2019 or 2020. And I'm like, cry me up in river.
Yeah.
I believe myself there for those of you listening. I don't want to hear about any drought for any team that has been 5 years. New York fans are starting to understand what a drought feels like. I should say younger New York fans, right? This is ridiculous. Why would you even talk about a drought ending now? This is not, well, it's a drought for us. It's a drought for us that it's been 5 years. Shut up and enjoy your championship.
It's not been 5 years. It has been close. It has been closer to 15. The last time the Celtics won was 2000.
Ray, the drought they're talking about is in Boston sports.
Just Boston sports, not the Celtics.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about a Celtics drought. It's Boston sports hasn't won since the Patriots in 2019. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me with this.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No, then
I apologize if I wasn't clear on this.
No, I'm very tired today, folks. I'm going on 3 hours sleep because Nintendo had a 7 a.m. press conference.
You got to be kidding me with that. All right, I'm going to say it again. If your attitude is, that's a long wait for us. We're used to winning a lot more than that. First off, yes, in the last 20 years you are, but also shut up.
Well, and that's the thing.
Man, I wish I came from a city that has won that many championships, because I would just say what New Yorkers used to say, which was, we're the best, we're number one, talk to me when you win a championship. I wouldn't, as a New Yorker would never say, hey, yo, it's been 5 years, man, we got to win sometime. That would never happen in New York. This is just the most thing. Now, again, I don't know who's putting these stories out there. I don't know if that's Boston media. I hope the people of Boston are happy today that the Celtics have won yet another NBA championship. We all know they don't matter if you're not playing the Lakers, though. So it doesn't matter. Okay. No, I think Lakers and Boston fans know that it's something special when those two teams take off against each other.
It's Yankees, Dodgers. It's absolutely.
Yeah, but man, I saw that story and I saw these things coming up. I was like, who is asking for this? Yeah, no, if it was a Celtics drought, Ray, it's been a minute.
It's been 16 years, right?
I haven't seen one thing about the Celtics. It said that this is now the second longest they've gone. That's it. The second longest drought since 2001. And I'm like, first off, I don't want to hear about any droughts that are only a portion of my lifetime. Not even my whole lifetime. It's a portion of my lifetime. Second of all, go screw yourself. Get, as they say in England, I don't want to hear about your pain, Boston. Okay? You don't get to complain for a long time. When you get to 20 years, you can start to complain. New York fans are starting to complain. I don't care. I don't give them any sympathy, but I'm also at the same time a little empathetic. Like, I get it.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is that, the last championship for New York was the Giants in 2011. So we're at 13 years now.
That's a while. I'll give you that. It's a while.
Yeah. Once you hit a decade, then you can kind of say, okay, maybe we're starting to get to drought territory here.
Well,
that we haven't won anything across the four major sports.
It depends. There's levels to a drought. It's, how many championships have you lost during that drought? How many competitive teams have you had during that drought? I will say a drought. Well, let's pose this question to the audience and to you, Ray. Is a drought worse when you're good but losing, or is it worse when you just suck? Is it like a Cleveland Browns type of thing where it's just like there's no point every year? Or is that, which is not true all the time.
Right.
Or is it that? Because now I grew up in an extreme drought of, I think, 26, 27 years with Philadelphia. And we had, I think, during that time, 2 teams make it to the finals. I'm sorry. If you want to look at it from 1983 when the drought started to 2008 when it ended, the Flyers were in 3 Stanley Cup Finals. The Phillies were in, I believe, 1 World Series prior to winning it. The Eagles were in 1 Super Bowl, and the Sixers were in 1 final. So I would say that that's not uber competitive across the board, right? That's just here and there you had a good team.
Yeah.
Whereas New York, was pretty good teams every year.
Yeah, well, I think it's worse, when you're irrelevant, right? Like for a
I
lot
would
of the
agree with
years.
that.
I
Yeah.
think that like there was that 7-year stretch where the Rangers didn't even make the playoffs.
Right. I remember
To
that.
me, that was worse than losing in the Eastern Conference Final every year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with
Like
that. And you had great players on the team at that time too, which is amazing.
sure. And that's the thing. And for whatever reason, they just always could never get crack that top 8. And it was just like, what is happening? And it's just like, and it was, so I think that was a more painful period. I mean, and even when the Yankees don't make the playoffs, I think it's worse, right? Like it was worse last year when the Yankees
the Yankees are in a special stratosphere in sport where, them not making the playoffs doesn't seem normal. And
right.
It's so easy with the Yankees and this is so true too, right? Last year, it's like, hey, fluke year, that's not going to happen twice.
Right.
You can't say that about a lot of teams.
No.
Right. Especially in baseball. You could say that about the Yankees. You could say that about the Dodgers now.
Yeah.
You could say about the Braves every year for sure.
Right.
Right. After those teams, I mean, who am I forgetting? I think the Braves and the Yankees would be the easy 1-2 pick on that as the extremely competitive teams, right? They're always there.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't want to give it to the Dodgers. It's not true
all
the time for them.
No, it's only really the last 6 or 7 years have the Dodgers really.
Yeah, I mean, they were good at that, 07, 08, 09 period too, but not like, oh, they should win the World Series every year. Good.
No, it's like they should win the division and they're going to lose in the first round, and now they're back to, they should win the division and they're going to lose in the first round.
I'd be willing to discuss the Astros in that conversation over the last 10 years, although I don't want to. But no, the Yankees,
but and now their window is slamming shut very hard on
the
them.
Yankees and the Braves might have a fluke year here or there. I can't think of anybody else. I mean, you've had teams that have had a decade of that. When you look at like the San Francisco Giants, there was a decade of, they're going to be there all the time. But the Braves and the Yankees are the two consistents. When it comes to hockey, it used to be Montreal, but that's not true. It used to be Detroit. And Chicago. I think probably the Boston Bruins is the only team I can think of that has that
right now.
massive,
and them in Tampa, Tampa probably right now.
Yeah, Tampa for about 15 years has been there, right? I think Boston has been there for a long time though. I don't. Boston only had a few seasons where they weren't very good. Football that has changed completely now. It was the Patriots. Now you don't have one that's like that. You just don't know, which is great about football.
No, I mean, you might be getting to the point where the Niners and Eagles are at that point. Like, again, they should be the favorites to fight in the NFC Championship. I think, again, that maybe Detroit is and then Detroit's your third possibility, right?
Yeah, but
those are the three top teams in the NFC right
now. But I'm talking about like the Yankee effect. Like the Patriots are the only team I remember in my lifetime that had that Yankee effect of if they didn't make the playoffs, like something was very wrong. I think
that's probably Kansas City now.
Now it is 100%. Yeah, they're definitely in the conversation right now. I think they still have to do it for a few more years. And then when you flip over to basketball, which is the easiest sport to do this, Celtics, Lakers every year. Right. Like they should be there every year. I mean, you could throw a few more teams in there. Like I said, but people, Golden State, well, they're not doing it right now.
No, Golden State's window is coming close. Their decade of dominance is done.
Yeah. And like with the Lakers, it's like this year, right? It's like not the best season. Well, the last time they had a season like this, they won the championship the next year. Yeah. So it's just, you never know. Anyway, I didn't want to go that deep into it. I'm just saying, what the hell? Like, I have no sympathy for someone saying they waited 5 years. It's like, and it was all satire, but it's like when the Vegas Golden Knights fans like, we've waited 7 years. Like that was funny. Right. We waited our whole lives.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's again proving that Boston fans are the most obnoxious. They
can be annoying. Yeah. So that was a near sweep. I believe as the script goes, Ray, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Oilers will travel to Florida to take on the Panthers in Game 5. And I predicted there to be a sweep in this series. I was very close. Yeah. I do believe right now that the script will follow basketball. I think the Panthers are going to crush the Oilers tonight.
Yes, I agree.
Oilers had an amazing Game 4. Amazing. It was.
Yeah, it was clear. They came out. They said, "Look, we may lose this series, but we're not going to lose it on home ice, and we're not going to get swept."
They added some what's it called into this series? Respect into this series.
Yes, putting up an 8 spot in the Stanley Cup Final. Wow, yes,
it was amazing. It was an amazing explosion of offense. Nothing went right for the Panthers in that game. They didn't even look like the Panthers. I will make this prediction that the Panthers will win the Stanley Cup tonight at home. I will also make the prediction that should they allow the Oilers to walk over them like that again, this will go 7 games. And I can't tell
I
you.
agree. If this goes back to Edmonton, it's also going to come back before.
Yeah. But like I said, we've talked about this. I believe I said this in a clip. If that top line, McDavid and Draisaitl,
yeah,
and Hyman, if they get going, you have no chance of beating that team.
Yeah.
And they got going. I mean, there were some records broken in this game, right? Connor McDavid now has more points than any other player, I think, since Evgeny Malkin in his MVP postseason when he was the MVP of the playoffs. Also, I believe he has passed Gretzky. I'm going to say it again. I believe he has passed Gretzky for most assists or something like that in a postseason now.
Wow.
Right? So pretty amazing stuff. But he did that in one game because he had no points prior to this game in this series.
Right.
So that proves the point. If you shut that line down, which I think was what everybody's going to do tonight.
Yes.
They can't do it. Bobrovsky's been a god in net. He wasn't last game. Unfortunately, his save percentage has been destroyed.
Right.
But Panthers tonight, Panthers in 5. I had the guts to make a sweep prediction. I had the guts, Ray. Not many people have the guts.
No, it's true.
I don't want to hear about anybody complaining about my prediction. If you didn't make a prediction, shut up. I don't want to hear about the dog that hits the balls down the stairs into the trash cans.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not a real prediction. That can be edited. This is a real prediction. I put myself out there to the millions and millions of people that watch this show to let them know what I think.
Well, and I think that most of us are in agreement with you. I think that, again, I went with you. I thought that Florida was going to run roughshod over Edmonton. And then again, that the real championship was Rangers versus Panthers, and that whoever was going to win.
Oh, that would have been so good if the Rangers had made it here. But look, I'll tell you this too, in that game 4, it was funny. There was this one sequence in the beginning that the Panthers hit 2 posts on one shift, and then the Oilers went down and scored. And it's like, I just cannot help but wonder if they had scored on that play, would that have changed everything?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? That's hockey, right?
That's hockey. It's the greatest sport in the world.
And that's hockey, Lee. That's like, what is it? Like John Sterling would always tell, that's baseball, Susan, and talk to his color commentator. So it's like, because sometimes that's just it. Sometimes the puck bounces a funny way. Sometimes the ball bounces a funny way. And what coulda, woulda, shoulda, but instead of a sweep, probably going to be a 5-game series. And honestly, it's better that way anyway, but still, Florida has dominated the first 3 games.
Yeah.
Edmonton came out saying, not here, not here. We don't want to be like Vancouver. No riots, please.
Yeah, well, the other thing, too, is Edmonton clearly has no respect for this show. We could have talked about the Panthers win today had they won the last game, but no, now we got to wait another week to talk about who won the Stanley Cup.
Schedule.
Thanks, Edmonton.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, too, is, I mean, we talk about this all the time, is that the hockey season should not be ending in mid-June. I'm sorry. It's such a long year. Basketball too, honestly. Like, and baseball. I don't know why. I don't know. I get it's money. It's all about money in NFL too now with the extra games. It's all about money. But I'm exhausted.
Well, I think it depends on whether it's an outdoor or an indoor sport. The problem I have with the baseball season is that you start and end in the seasons that are really not when you play the majority of the games. And you don't ever want to see weather play into it. Now, that's the game. The players have to adapt. I take a full accountability for that as like a fan and as a coach and as whatever. But I don't like that the baseball season can end in rainy, cold, mucky weather.
November now.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
It used to be over. The World Series used to be the first week of October. Now it's the first week of November. Yeah. You shouldn't be playing your most important baseball when it could be freaking snowing out.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, again, and if like the Colorado Rockies or the Seattle Mariners make the playoffs and go all the way, it could be really bad.
Yeah.
That's assuming they're playing outdoors though. So
look, well, I mean, Colorado's outdoors. Seattle, the safe, T-Mobile Park, I do he has a coastal roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'll say about hockey is that hockey has the best postseason of all the 4 major sports in this country. So it's painful when you're in it and you don't win and you want it to end, or when there's a 3-1 series lead, it's like, all right, let's get this over with. But I'm biased. And again, it's not the length of the playoffs. It's just a matter of like, when should it end? And again, hockey could end mid-June, right? It could also end early June. A lot of it depends on just how the teams lie. But I think in indoor sports, you have a little bit more room. Now, what the other funny thing is, we switched a few years ago. The NHL used to end before the NBA calendar year every year. It's kind of flipped since COVID.
Yes.
Which is interesting. Although I guess it could have happened the other day if the Panthers had won on whatever day it was, Saturday.
Yeah,
Friday.
in Edmonton. Yeah, if they had swept,
but anyway, look, it is what it is. Thank God we have sports, and that's what we're talking about.
Yes, we have a couple of other small stories from the NBA and NHL. Starting with the NBA, this was interesting. Charles Barkley announced that instead when it's almost a done deal. It's not official yet. We've talked about this a lot. We will talk about it when it is official. That it looks like the NBA rights for Warner Brothers are going to go over to NBC. NBC is going to win that bid. All signs are pointing to that. Nothing is official yet. They're probably crossing T's and dotting I's and all that other stuff, but nothing is official. So Charles Barkley has gotten ahead of it and said, the NBA leaves TNT, goes over to NBC. He says, even if it doesn't, I'm done.
Yeah.
After next season, I am retiring. I've been on air for 25 years after a almost 20-year NBA career. I'm done. I'm good. And honestly, we are all going to be worse off for it. Charles Barkley and Shaq together are hysterical on that show.
They are.
But
they're amazing.
If that is coming to an end, if TNT's coverage of the NBA is going to go over to NBC, they're going to want their own people. And Barkley, even though he had a clause in his contract that said he could have gone with the show, no matter where it went, he could have opted out. He's like, I'm just done.
Yeah.
We had something special here and we're done. So good for
I
him.
agree with that decision. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say something like it's time for him to step aside because we all
know.
But it is time for potentially some new younger blood to come into that conversation and be on the stage. All right.
Well, and this is a great time too. Again, if the show changes networks, this is a great time to freshen up and change up
And here's the other thing, Ray. There's a whole generation of basketball a whole generation of basketball fans who never even saw him play. So this is the chance to bring in maybe some of those guys from the 2010 period, right? That maybe retired at that time period to come on, but. Look, the show changing, that alone is a problem. Just because TNT did this so well. I mean, that was easily one of the greatest groups of men together and women to broadcast basketball in a fun way. They made you feel like you were part of the conversation. To the point, everyone's trying to emulate it now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, they're trying. Everybody's trying, but as is always the case, Warner Brothers ruins everything.
They really do.
Yeah, and they would not match NBC's offer, and that's it. So probably again, nothing. It's not official yet, but Barkley said
we're making it official. Official.
It's pretty
Geeks,
official.
Breaking news. It's official.
Yeah, the NBA in I believe it'll be 2025, 2026 season will go over to NBC. NBC has already supposedly called John Tesh to get the rights to the NBA theme back. I'm sure he signed off on that.
Basketball, gimme the ball, because I'm gonna dunk it.
Yeah, that's a great SNL skit. If you haven't seen it, folks.
I love that skit.
Yeah, and then some NHL news. This was an interesting small story. The Washington Capitals bought a site called Cap Friendly, which was an independent site that kept track of all of the contracts in the NHL, all public, by the way, all publicly available knowledge. The NHL, this is all based off of stuff that the NHL has released. Whenever there's this contract out there, they always put average annual value and all this other stuff. And Cap Friendly was just like, well, this is how much cap space this team has, and these are the contracts and how it works, and these are moves they could potentially make. And for whatever reason, the NHL kind of got uppity that somebody would actually take all the information they put out there and collect it conveniently in one place, because now that the Capitals have bought the site, and good for the guys, by the way, who got a huge payday who made this site for this. By the way, Geeks Who Like Sports is for sale.
We'll shut it down. We'll shut it down for $10 million. We'll stop breaking stories on here.
Yes, exactly.
We'll come back with our new show, nerds who like athletic activities.
Yes, exactly. NWLAA. But
yeah, I could probably do better than that, but we'll let that stand for now.
Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. Yes.
Yes, and games. Yeah. Producer Cable. And games.
Yeah, they're going to shut the site down. Not the Capitals, not that somebody in the league owns it. They're just going to shut it down. And it's just a really curious decision, because this was again a little thing that the fans enjoyed. This was a fan run thing, and it just kind of was a head scratcher.
I get it. I'm not going to lie to you. As a business owner, I get it. I wouldn't necessarily want anybody taking my company's balance sheet and putting it out on the internet for everybody to see. The Capitals bought it, which means Ted Leonsis bought it, who is a very wealthy man. My guess is that he's not doing this to hide it from the other NHL teams. I'm going to guess that the board of governors meeting,
yeah,
they were like, well, we got to do something about this. And he was just like, Tony Stark, right? I'll buy it. Or Batman. No, you don't see. I'm buying this hotel.
right.
Right. So listen, I get it. I can understand why, especially in today's marketplace with the amount of complaining about money and some of it justified, some of it not. I wouldn't necessarily want my financials out there, Ray, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Not to mention, and this is the other real reason, the players see that.
Right.
Right. And I have a feeling that they don't want agents looking at this. They don't want players looking at this. And you can say that's unfair to the players, but being a GM is a game, right, in itself. And you want every advantage. And you don't need an agent to say, well, hey, look, Toronto has this. They could give us a call and we can do this or they can match this. And keeping in mind, too, like if a team like the Utah Hockey Club comes out with their new jerseys, which we should talk about today, too. And says, well, okay, we want this, but we can't match it if you go to Toronto, who has way more cap room than us. So as a player or as an agent, I'm going to know, well, I'm going to wait for this amount because I know I can get it from over there. So the gamesmanship here.
Sure. And the thing is, I'm sure a lot of these organizations have somebody already internally probably monitoring this stuff.
They
anyway.
know.
Again, it's all public. This is all knowledge that is all stuff that's been put out there that the NHL has to put out there when these contracts get signed and stuff.
No, they don't. That is a misconception. If you look it up, Ray, leagues actually do not tell you what they're paying players. It is, I don't want to say it's leaked to the press, but if you look at it, there's typically no official publication of this is what the contract is in terms of dollar amount and years. They don't have to disclose that any more than I have to tell you what I pay my employees. I don't have to tell you that, right? It's not public knowledge. So now with that said, it's very public. People know it gets out, right? Because look, a player can say, oh yeah, it's 5 years, $10 million. All right. And keeping in mind too, that every agent's going to want to broadcast what they're getting.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not exactly a big secret, but it is a misnomer that they have to report this. They do not have to report anything. Right. So there's just something going on that site with some information that they do not want out there.
Right.
And by the way, the reason I know this is because when I worked at the NHL, at the turn of this, 2008, 2009 time period, and this was stupid, we had to wait to publish certain signings because we could not confirm the amount, right? So what was happening is third-party news sites, TSN, ESPN, would publish, oh, this player got traded, or this player got signed for this amount, and we weren't allowed to publish it because it was not officially done yet, right? And the money was not sometimes correct. But who thinks about that once it's done? So we always had to wait for an official note from the team, and that note never had 5 years, $12 million ever. It might say they were signed to a 5-year contract or something like that.
Right.
But that's an interesting take because I don't think a lot of people know that. You don't have to publicly disclose your finances in that way, unless you're ordered by a court of law. And anybody who follows politics knows that now.
Yes. So, well, there you go. So, and yeah, speaking of
basketball, give me the ball because I'm gonna dunk it. Sorry,
no, we're staying with hockey. Actually, you mentioned the Utah Hockey Club showed off.
You almost said Jazz. I saw it. You were gonna say Jazz, but you held back. You're a good broadcaster.
Yeah, the Utah Hockey Club. Their sky blue, black and white jerseys. That we can't wait for them to get an actual logo and mascot.
Yeah. There's a lot of complaining going on. People, shut up. Like, it's not like we didn't just watch this happen in football with the Washington football team, right?
Right.
It takes a long time to get branding correct. This is a brand that's going to last hopefully 50 plus years. Right? You don't rush that. And people go, they have the Yeti. They could have been the Yeti next season. Yeah, they probably could have, but it would have been rushed. You were going to want a logo. Utah Hockey Club is a great name for the first season. It's also a great branding opportunity. Now Utah has a team. All right. The color scheme, a little boring, a little bit boring to me. But it doesn't really matter. It's not the final team name, most likely. Right. And it's good enough. The jerseys don't match the beauty of the Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken. But they've given themselves the time now to figure that out.
They bought themselves a year.
Yes. Or more if they really want it, although it should be a year.
It shouldn't be more than a year. Yeah.
I also think too, people like the Yeti is a great name. They should probably go with that name, but I don't know if anybody.
I hear the
has
Yeti and the Blizzard are the two front runners right now.
They should not be the Blizzard just because of the Avalanche. That would be a stupid thing to do. The Yeti is a little bit of a better name.
Yeah.
In my opinion, even though Yeti's kind of living that Avalanche. But anyway, the point is this. Legally, it takes a long time to figure out a name and make sure that you have all the LLCs down and everything. So Utah Hockey Club, who will be probably pretty bad next season, probably have a little bit of a
they might get off to a hot start or something.
Yeah, I could see that. But at the end of the day,
they'll come back on the earth. This was a bad Arizona team that is now in Utah.
It's a mediocre. I'll say mediocre. Not bad. There's got some good talent on that team. Okay,
sure,
but they're not good enough to do anything.
Well, and then they'll be, and they might get a shot in the arm too, playing in front of fans who are very passionate.
Something. I imagine a honeymoon situation is going to happen there. But look, actually, let's just say this, Ray. A lot of it depends on what they do in the offseason.
That's also true.
Because that's going to be a new destination for players now that's not Arizona, which could attract a lot of people, right? So we'll see what happens with the Utah Hockey Club with their University of Maine color scheme.
Yes. And one other team and speaking of the importance of logos and branding and and bringing stuff back, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks.
Nope. Just the Ducks.
They're the Ducks, but they brought back the Mighty logo.
They did bring back the Mighty Ducks logo, and they teased it the other day. It looks like Wild Wing is coming back to the jerseys.
Yes.
Which is a good move. But Ray, I have a gripe.
What's your gripe?
I have a gripe.
What is your gripe?
There is only room for one team in this league to wear orange, and it ain't the Anaheim Ducks.
That's right. They did not go back to the old color scheme.
No. And I understand you've had orange in your jerseys, Anaheim. I've had orange in mine since 1967. Yep. How dare you encroach the Philadelphia Flyers orange screen? We went to burnt orange 1 year later. Well, we're going to go to the bright orange. You're not even owned by Mickey Mouse anymore. I don't want to hear it. You bastards. There's only room for one orange. I can't wait for you to come to Philadelphia so we can smack that duck right in the face this year, Anaheim. Yeah. By the way, really love the New Jersey. It's great stuff. The orange really works.
Yes, it does. I was going to say, also, doesn't Edmonton also wear orange? Isn't that one of their primary colors?
Maybe.
It's right there.
No, well, it's primarily blue. Okay, listen, I'll say this. I've never had a problem with, like, the orange accent. Okay?
Sure.
Sure. The Edmonton jerseys are blue with some orange accents. They're not orange and black. They're not primarily orange, okay? But yes, they do have some orange in there. They did do one jersey that was orange, like a third jersey. Didn't last too long.
No, that's true.
You know why?
Because
there's only one team in the NHL that should have orange as their jersey, the orange and black. And for those of you saying they're irrelevant, they're a stupid team, mark this prediction. The Flyers are getting better, and they are coming, and they will be in the Stanley Cup Final within the next 5 years. Boom.
That I could see. 5 years, I could see that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's fair.
And by the way, I've seen the Phillies win. I've seen the Eagles win. They were great moments. Ray was there for one of them.
Yep.
You saw me shortly after one of them.
Yep.
If the Flyers ever win the Stanley Cup, I am not quite sure how I will react, because I know I reacted when those other two teams won. And it was one of them. I think I ran through a door, if I'm not mistaken. The Flyers winning, I might turn into some ooze on the floor. I might literally.
Yeah, I will come back east if the Flyers are in the final again, just because I'd have to see what would happen if they were.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be fetal position crying like a little kid. I don't know if I'd just be jumping up and down screaming a little bit of
that
both.
would be a TikTok.
Yeah, there are a lot of cameras now. There were no cameras back in 2008 when my buddy came in with a bottle of champagne and poured it all over me.
Yeah.
And there were no cameras when I ran through that door in that Vegas hotel, and then you guys had to tackle me on the couch. I was so upset.
Well, we had the cameras. It's just that we were celebrating with you, and so none of us were like,
awesome. That was awesome. That was pretty amazing. When the Phillies won in 2008, there was more shock. Like, it was just like, oh my God, we did it. Like, that was but when the Eagles
especially because it was delayed, because the one game got like partially rained out. Like, speaking of weather,
that was exciting. We finally did it. Like, it was the drought's over. When the Eagles won, that was more of a, a lion had killed a patriot, and we were rolling.
Yeah, I mean, that was like when when the Giants won.
Yeah, I lost my
first
voice.
time.
You guys had to tackle me on the couch. Two people had to tackle me.
Yes,
I was going so nuts that we won that championship. I wish there was video of that. And then my then 4-year-old son started punching me for scaring him, which is the most Philadelphia thing ever.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Speaking of punches, speaking of people getting punched.
Yes, that was a segue, Ray.
Yes. Our new favorite sport, the WNBA.
Yeah, everyone's new favorite sport.
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Look, I have done a ton of research. I have watched more women's basketball than I have in 25 years. And funny enough, the stat has come out now. They're not alone. I'm not alone. The Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever game Sunday, Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, number 1 pick versus number 2 pick, was the most watched game in WNBA in 25 years.
Wow.
That
makes a lot of sense. Was she number 2?
A lot of sense.
I thought she was like 12.
Was she might have been farther than my apologies. But
no, it's okay. Again, we're talking about it, right? As I keep saying, keep talking about it. Keep talking about women's sports. I love this.
Yes, I'm gonna look that up now. But basically, somebody look that up while I am
7th overall.
He was 7th overall. My apologies. Yeah. But obviously, there was a rivalry there when in college because I believe Angel was LSU and obviously Caitlin was Iowa.
Yes, I watched that game where LSU beat them and. Yes. And she pointed at that ring on her finger. I remember that very well.
And then Caitlin came back the next year and beat them, and even though they fell short for the championship. Yes. Yeah, there's a rivalry. There's been bad blood brewing there for a while. And the thing is that and rightfully so. Look, we talk about this all the time. This could be, it isn't yet, but it could be a Bird Magic situation.
Oh, it's becoming that for sure.
Right? The seed has been planted.
Yeah, they're saying that. The stats don't match. Well, if I'm not mistaken, Angel Reese is the only rookie in the WNBA that's averaging a double-double every game.
Yes.
While Caitlin Clark's scoring is prolific for a rookie.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark put up 23 and also had, by the way, 9 assists and 8 boards in that game. And yes, Reese, I believe, only think I had 13 points in that game.
It wasn't her best game. Well, she got a Friggling foul, which didn't help.
Right. Yes, and that's the thing as well, and that's the thing that a lot of people are talking about. But I'll say this: look, it wasn't a flagrant foul. Absolutely.
No, it was a basketball play. It was
also a basketball play. She was going for the ball, but did she also make contact with Caitlin's head?
For sure. 100%. People are blowing it out of proportion more than it had to be. But this emulates
this
90s basketball more than now.
This isn't Caitlin Clark getting tackled on the inbounds pass.
No, this was a play. I'm going to say it though, Ray. This is emulating 90s NBA more than the NBA does right now. It's a tough sport, and they're going at it. And I don't think you're wrong. I think this is a Jordan versus Bird. And again, people, they got to prove themselves. They will. These women have risen to the top, and I am a fan. I am a fan of watching these women play basketball. Not to mention the storylines that are going on surrounding the WNBA. You literally got Angel Reese saying, "I'll be the bad guy." She sounds like Scarface. Say hello to the bad guy. I mean, they're creating storylines that are worth watching.
Yes,
and the games are entertaining.
And by the way, these are for two. I'm sorry to say, terrible teams. Right? Indiana's 5-10. Chicago's 4-10, I believe. These are but because of who's playing. And by the way, and their teams will not be terrible forever. These teams, they will be
Caitlin Clark very good.
And Angel Reese are going to carry these teams in the future, just not right now. This is the seeds of this is what's going to get people on board. By the way, my New York Liberty continue to play very well.
They do.
Still number 2
overall.
The
Aces and the Liberty are the teams to kind of keep an eye on.
Yes, them, the Sun as well over in Connecticut. There's definitely those are probably the 3 teams to keep an eye on. Aces obviously coming off of a repeat. But I mean, look, this is a league that has been troubled for so long. And is now really starting to come into its own finally on the backs of these individuals. Right. And I think that people who are complaining about Clark or complaining about Reese or not what about A'ja Wilson? Yeah, A'ja Wilson, MVP for a reason, leading the league in scoring again. Absolutely. But I'm sorry, but for whatever reason, again, it's Bird and Magic. These are the lightning rods, right, that are getting people's attention, and the league, rightfully so, is embracing them. And honestly, these other people that a rising tide lifts all ships.
Absolutely.
People are not going to pay attention to MVP A'ja Wilson and whatnot.
And here's the other thing too, Ray. I think, you can go back and forth on this. When Magic and Bird arrived in the NBA, the Celtics and the Lakers were championship caliber immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But that's not true for Jordan. Jordan played 10 years before the Bulls were the championship Bulls. All right.
Yes.
And there's other, I remember Allen Iverson, the Sixers were not super relevant when he first arrived there, right? In terms of a championship caliber. So these teams are going to become very good, very quick. Also, in the offseason, remember, these players were drafted. In the offseason, when players are looking around, you're telling me you're not going to want to go play with Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese and be part of that? You're telling me there's great players. You're not going to want that spotlight shared as well?
Yeah.
They're going to be able to get some good players to these teams pretty quickly.
Chicago and Indiana are destinations now.
Yeah. I don't think Clark or Reese are going to be moving anytime soon to different teams. I think these are their teams, right? And they're playing their roles, and I think it's great. And again, I think that the dream team stuff is even a better storyline that's growing. But listen, Caitlin Clark, specifically Caitlin Clark right now, man, she is paying her dues, and she's doing it with a lot of class. And I think actually Angel Reese is as well. Even though she's in a little bit of a different role than Caitlin Clark, they are paying their dues. They are fighting. The fact that they're women is, I don't care.
Yeah.
like it's so great to watch this and not, I don't always, the back of my mind is like, well, it's women's sports. I'm not doing that. Like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And even as I shared with you yesterday, ESPN announcers and editorials and everything are saying, yeah, no, we're talking about it now. And people pointing the finger like, well, you didn't talk about it before. And it was Cower, who we both don't really love, but he said it correctly. He's like, I talk about it when it's relevant, and it's relevant now. And that's all that matters. And he's right. They don't talk about professional bowling on ESPN. Right. He even said, I don't talk about hockey. It's not ultra relevant to me, which I think he's a jackass for that comment. But the point is, hockey is a very relevant sport. Is it baseball, football, basketball? No. But saying it's not relevant in 2024 is a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, well, Cowherd has a lot of stupid takes. But
I don't agree with
even a broken clock is right twice a day.
I agree with you on that. But he made a good point he goes, I don't talk about I'm not an egg farmer. I make omelets. And I thought, that's actually a really fair statement. They don't have to talk about it. But the WNBA, I'm not going to even say women's sports, the WNBA, and I'll say the PWHL, for the matter of this show, are becoming very relevant in their sports.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I love watching the WNBA games. I love watching the PWHL games in hockey. I love it. I love sitting there with my daughter saying, you could punch her in the face one day. I don't say that. Okay. Yeah. But it's a cool time as a dad, I guess, but cool time in sports.
And the thing is also, especially with the WNBA, you have to remember this is them bouncing back. They weren't relevant for a while because they had a lot of money issues and all that. Because I remember when the league came around, again, it's 25 years, but the league has been around for 27 now.
Long time.
Because, in terms of the ratings.
They lost money every year.
Lisa Leslie. I remember Rebecca Lobo. I remember the names that when the league first started, and then you had all the money troubles. I mean, again, for folks may not remember, the Houston Comets, right, won the first 4 WNBA championships. Lee, do you know where the Houston Comets are now?
Where?
They folded during the financial crisis of 2008. Yeah. And they are still tied for the most championships in league history.
Team. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. The league went through some really tough times, and then people left.
Well,
and because
I will say this too, that the WNBA historically has lost money every single year of its existence. And this is one of the great things that the NBA has always done, is support that league. Yeah, and we never talk about that enough, of those two leagues working together to make sure that this worked. I'm not saying all praise the NBA. I'm saying what a great collaboration and partnership between those two leagues to grow the game of basketball. But Ray, the WNBA will most likely be profitable this year for the first time in its history, which is a huge deal. The fact that they're having to change the locations of a lot of these games to hit NBA
bigger arenas.
Awesome. It's an awesome time for sports, period. We have said this since the very first show. Women belong in sports. If you cannot get past that, you're a freaking loser. I don't know what to say to you. I don't care who's playing. If it's a good game, it's a good game. I just love that we have 6 billion channels now. We can watch all of them at once. And I don't have to have them change from a game 7 in the NHL to the Kentucky Derby, because there's not enough channels to watch the game, Ray, which happened to me one time. And I get it, but it was the Kentucky Derby pre-show, Ray. It wasn't even the stupid race. It was the pre-show, and they cut away from a game 7 in overtime for that. I just went on a little bit of a soapbox someplace else. Women's sports, men's sports, working together, mass hysteria.
Yes, mass hysteria, absolutely. Goodness, you know what else is hysterical?
Let's see
More people, more people getting caught gambling in baseball.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. I don't know why this keeps happening. It's even worse because it wasn't a player, was it?
No, it was
No.
Pat Hoberg, who's actually one of the more respected umpires, who actually is one of the better umpires and was the first umpire to call a perfect game. He did not get a single call wrong in the World Series. And Pat Hoberg has been caught, and he has not been expelled from baseball because it was found that he was not caught betting on any of the games he directly influenced. He was just caught gambling in general. God. Yes, because it would have been a lifetime ban if it was a game that he had been calling. But Pat Hoberg, baseball umpire, suspended. I don't know if there was any fines or what the other ramifications were. Those were not publicly shown. But Pat Hoberg caught gambling on baseball. Hey, folks, you might have a problem here with all the gambling stuff.
Yeah, well, it's so easy to do now with our mobile devices. I think what these leagues should do, and I don't think they've taken a strong enough stance of this, is kind of say, look, we're paying you guys a tremendous, stupendous amount of money to do your jobs. Just don't do it ever. Because if you do, it's going to be a lifetime ban, period. Yeah, I wish if they just enforce that, which I thought they had done with Pete Rose, don't even put these things on your phone. Don't make a dummy account. Just don't do it. Find another way to spend your money, you morons. Man, they dodged a bullet with Ohtani, man. I'll tell you. I don't know if that story was real or not in terms of if it's in translator, but can you imagine if the greatest athlete in that sport was kicked out because of this?
Yep.
Would have been amazing.
Yep. The new faces of the league, and
it's a good chance. It's a good chance it was actually his interpreter, but
it's and that's the thing though. But now there's always going to be that question. There's always going to be that cloud.
Put an asterisk on it.
I may not go that far, but there's definitely going to be people are going to question it the rest of it, or at least it's going to be a joke. He's going to be the butt of the joke for forever now.
This is what I'm willing to offer, Ray. For all you professional athletes that want to bet, give Ray and I your money.
Yes.
Okay. And we will do the betting for you. All right. And we'll put the winnings into our bank accounts. And anytime you need any extra money, just call us.
Yes.
It's a good deal.
I like this idea.
And we'll do. You'll get the same thrill of not knowing if two schmucks with your money can do something with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Go on, take the money and run.
Yes. One other baseball story. This was interesting. This is in The Athletic. They polled, I think it was about 100 players. And there was a few different things that they asked about, which were some are very obvious. Have statistics helped you have helped your career? Absolutely. Advanced stats have things of that nature. What are some of the worst organizations in baseball? The Oakland Athletics, obviously the top of the list. But this was an interesting one. Should Major League Baseball shut down for the month of July, for the 3 weeks or whatever, for the Olympics will be here because baseball is coming back to the Olympics in 2028. Should Major League Baseball shut down in July of 2028 and have the players play in the Olympics? And it was almost a 50-50 split,
right?
Whether they should or not. Lee, what are your thoughts? Should baseball consider taking a break in July of 28 for the Olympics and letting the players go play baseball there?
If they can find a way to market the MLB through that experience, they probably should, because it's only going to grow the game globally. Yep. They've obviously made a lot of plans over the last few years to expand the game globally. Yep. So it could be really good for the game. The problem is the athletes, and as owners, you don't ever want to see your athletes get hurt in an international competition. Yep. I'm going to guess that the World Baseball Classic would not take place that year. Right.
Well, yeah, it's always I think it's an odd year. I think.
Yeah, it's in lieu of, right? They're not going to do that. All right. But yeah, look, I think the magic of pro athletes in the Olympics is always been a really cool thing. I mean, I think about the dream teams. I think about the NHL players in the Olympics. And I'm not gonna lie to you, when they did amateurs again after that, it wasn't great to watch. It wasn't fun to watch because it's not the best in the world. Yeah. And while I know that the Olympics are all about amateur athletes, in my opinion, and I grew up in this time period, and so did you, Ray, it really shouldn't be the amateur athletes. It should be the best athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yes, I would like to see the best athletes compete in the Olympics in baseball and have a true world champion.
Yeah.
which, people, oh, America would win that easy. That is not true.
No, America would very rarely win the gold. Not they would win some, but like
they're in the
Cuba, a lot of
conversation.
Cuba times, the Dominicans, there's a lot of amazing ball players.
Yeah. I mean, look, Japan,
of course, is always at the top.
And there's other teams too that could be in that conversation. So, and then look, there's always it's baseball, right? There's always a chance a country could pop out of nowhere. Canada, Italy. I mean, someone could show up.
Yeah, Italy did that in the World Baseball Classic a couple years ago. Like it's not a guarantee that America is the world champion, folks.
Outside injury, like a player being injured during that time, I don't like to say, like, I think it takes something away if a country wins and another country didn't have their best athletes, because then it's always going to be, well, if they had this guy, that would have changed everything, right? But I think this is MLB's chance to say we are going to shut down because we support baseball as a global game. It is not the most popular sport in the world. I mean, not even close.
No.
So it's just like
I don't even think it's top 5 in the world.
It might not be top 10, right? I mean, the top 10 sports are not what people think.
Right.
All right. Number 1 is typically like cricket. So
number one is soccer / football. Number 2,
football.
Cricket is I think number 2, and then I think you have basketball and hockey. I think are 3, 4 in terms of the world.
I'm gonna look it up. Top 10 global sports. Ray, I need you to fill the airtime.
Again, I think soccer and then cricket are 1, 2. By the way, congratulations to the U.S. men's cricket team who upset Pakistan and all that, and continuing to a bunch of part-timers and really upsetting people. By the way, I learned about cricket. I've been learning how to play cricket. Boy, is that a screwed up sport.
It's really messed up. You could be winning without winning.
That is a weird sport. I visited a cricket stadium in Melbourne when I went down to Australia, one of the biggest cricket stadiums in the world. It is massive. It is a beautiful stadium. But is that a weird sport.
This is really hard to find a source here that I trust.
Yeah,
but well, and this is from 2010. Like, this is tough. This is tough to find. I mean, I think it also depends on how are you ranking. Is it by television? Is it by spectators?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things. But I think soccer and I think cricket, and I think then you go to like basketball and hockey.
I'm just gonna use this one because it's I don't want to. The site name is Best Diplomats. Let's not use that. Let's not.
Yeah, I think we'll just chalk this up as something that we'll a TBD, and we'll look more into the future.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But I think that at Major League Baseball, I think I agree as well. But I also think they should also shorten the regular season, and I think they should just, because that's the thing, is that if they pause the season for 3 weeks, I don't want to see baseball played around Christmas.
Right.
Like that's my only thing. Like,
okay. All right, I got one here based on fans. I think that's a fair. All right. Number 1, football, soccer, as we said. 2 is cricket. 3, this is globally, is basketball. 4 is field hockey. 5 is tennis. 6 is volleyball. 7 is table tennis. And this is spectators.
Wow.
And then number 8 is baseball. Number 9, American football, rugby. And then number 10 is golf. And just to give you guys the disparity, and this is massive, all right? Baseball, it says, has about 500 million fans a year.
Right.
Soccer has 3.5 billion. That is an amazing number. And again, that is a whole billion above cricket.
Yeah. So Caitlin also just gave us this source, worldatlas.com. That has its, again, soccer, then cricket, then puts hockey 3, tennis 4, volleyball 5.
What type of hockey though? Did it specify? That's the problem.
I think it's insinuating ice hockey.
I bet you it's not.
Yeah,
that's one of those things. It's like, I bet.
Oh no, you're right. It is field hockey.
Yeah,
it is field hockey.
I bet you it's not. Yeah,
hockey, then tennis, then volleyball, table tennis, basketball 7.
Yeah, look,
baseball
ice
8.
hockey is hindered by it. It's a winter sport, and you have to have ice, right? So it cannot be played everywhere.
Yeah, and then rugby, golf. Yeah.
Grass sports or court sports will always take number 1 over that. Yeah, hockey, I believe, is that. But yeah, like baseball, number 8. So that tells you something. Golf.
Yeah.
Golf. Rugby. Wow. All right. Little educational moment here on Geeks Who Like Sports and Sports Stats. This is the geek side of the sports side of the geek show on the sports side. Anyway, how about that?
How about that? Speaking of interesting stats and whatnot, this was fun. We're moving over to the NFL now, or a quick NFL story.
I love talking about the NFL. I miss the NFL right now.
Chiefs,
the time of year I miss it. I miss it right now.
Yes. The Chiefs just got their Super Bowl rings.
Wow.
And they messed them up.
Wow.
They messed them up.
Tell the people how they messed them up, Ray.
So the Dolphins, who they beat in the first round, were the 6th seed. But on the rings, they listed the Dolphins as the 7th seed. They messed that up. They also claim, and I get it by certain statistics of, like, you go by win percentage in regular season and Vegas odds and all the other BS. Technically, some people think the Chiefs had the hardest path ever to the Super Bowl. I do not agree with that at all.
I would love to hear the justification of that.
It was something to do with, like, regular season wins or whatever for the opponents they beat and all that. I think it was like Vegas odds or something.
They were a favorite to win the Super Bowl. That doesn't make it the hardest. The hardest would be also not expected to win the Super Bowl.
Also, the Chiefs had a home game. The Chiefs played the Dolphins at home. Now, if the Chiefs went to Miami, maybe. But immediately, I think of the Steelers that won Super Bowl 40, that were the 6th seed and had to go on the road the whole way. And, the Giants, who were the 5 seed and had to go on the road the whole way and then beat the undefeated Patriots.
I think that would probably be number 1, and I am not a Giants fan. And I'll tell you this, too, that the Chiefs were a favorite to win the Super Bowl, weren't they? So while I have respect for that team and the challenge of the season, it is very hard to go back to back. I have a lot of respect for the Chiefs. I don't want to denote the Chiefs as not being one of the greatest teams of all time, because they are. But hardest road to the Super Bowl, to me, is a team that was not expected to be in the Super Bowl.
And again, and a team that maybe had to play the whole postseason on the road
and then defeat literally the greatest football team potentially of all time. That's the team I'm going to probably pick for the hardest road to the Super Bowl.
Or again, I will even give you the Steelers, who were a 6 seed. Like, I mean, the Giants had to knock off a 4, a 1, a 2, and a 1. The Steelers had to knock off a 3, a 2, a 1, and a 1.
And they knew they were actually a 6 seed, not a 7 seed, as the rings denoted.
As the rings denoted, yeah, exactly. You guys can't even count to what seeds they were, and you are claiming to have the hardest path through the playoffs? Kansas City, get your heads out of your butts. Oh my God, I can't wait for Taylor Swift to break up with Kelsey and write a song about this. Like, holy cow.
Basketball, gimme the ball so that I can dunk it. Is that going to be the song?
No, that's not going to be the song, but that should be on her next album. That would be great. John Tesh and Taylor Swift should collaborate. There we go. But no, this was stupid. That's a tenuous claim at best through your odds makers BS. I'm sorry. Anybody who knows football does not put this Chiefs run. It was a nice run. It wasn't easy having to go up to Buffalo. You're right. It wasn't easy against the Niners. But the hardest path ever to a championship?
No, I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Way to mess up your rings.
Yep. Good job, Kansas City.
Someone couldn't research.
Yeah. What else there's a thing called Google, by the way, in Kansas City, Missouri. You might want to try it sometime.
Just the internet.
Yeah. Like, unbelievable. Yeah, but here's a fun story. Speaking still in football, but not the NFL, we're going over to the UFL as the Birmingham Stallions win the first ever unified football league championship, 25-0 over the San Antonio Brahmas.
Yep.
Absolutely demolished them. Tom Brady made his debut as broadcaster for this and got booed by all the fans in attendance who saw him because everybody hates Tom Brady.
I don't know why everybody hates Tom Brady. That's kind of messed up.
Well, I think I don't know.
I don't get it, Ray. I don't get it. It's greatness. I don't understand why people hate greatness unless they're feeling
Yeah,
bad
I
about
think it's the
themselves.
way he left. I think it's the way he left New England. I think it's the way he left Giselle. I think it's the way, like, there's a few things there.
Yeah.
Especially now. I mean, everybody around that whole organization just kind of has a cloud over them. Bill Belichick's dating a 25-year-old girl now. It's just weird. It's just weird, man.
Greatness comes at a cost, Ray, and that cost is apparently everybody hates you for being great.
Yeah, that's part of it, I suppose. I mean, I guess as the Yankees dynasty always knew, right? Like, so
you know what's funny about these things, Ray, is that
yeah.
people are so brave in groups. They're so brave on the internet. But
true.
if Tom Brady walked on set right now to either one of us, we wouldn't be like, oh my God, I hate you. It'd be like, oh my God, Mr. Brady, sir, it's so nice to meet you. What can I do for you? Yes.
No, I'd be like, oh, how's it feel losing to the Eagles and Giants?
That is not what you would do.
I would absolutely.
That is not at all what
100%. I would do that. I would absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to bring to you Tom. I'm just kidding. He's not there in Los Angeles at all.
I'd be like, how's it feel to always lose to the New York Giants?
I know you, and there's no way that's what you would do. You would shake the man's hand.
I would shake his hand, and then I would bust his balls about the New York Giants.
I'm sure you would at some point, unless he had a little job in his hand, and then you'd be like, "Hey, I love the Patriots."
Well, yeah, well then yes, well then well there we go. That's a different story.
Did you know you're my favorite quarterback of all time? Did you know that?
I mean, money talks and BS walks, so that is true. But speaking of the Giants, and this is actually a fun story. coming out of the UFL championship, now that their season has ended. There are a lot of teams that are starting to sign people out of the UFL, and this is what this league is all about. And this is
this is exactly why they exist.
A chance to highlight a lot of these guys and a chance to get them to that next level. Because the UFL is doing all right, but it's not NFL money. And the Giants signed running back Jacob Sailors today, which is a big deal, obviously, to help our running back room after Saquon Barkley went down to Philadelphia. The Cowboys, needing help, signed linebacker Willie Harvey Jr. The Patriots signed offensive tackle / guard Liam Fornadell. The Lions signed kicker Jake Bates, and that is just several of the almost dozen signings that come out of the UFL today. That is it's great to see. It's great to see that these guys, and I hope that Jacob Sailors can really run the rock because we need a running back now. Devin Singletary is going to be the guy, but we could definitely use a spell back. Yeah, and this is just great to see. I think it's a great story. I think it's obviously it's also a chance for the UFL to be like, hey, you didn't get drafted? Come play with us. Show the NFL what you can do on our football fields. I think this is a win-win all around for everybody.
Like, it's fantastic. This was the whole point of the league. And again, maybe some people don't know this, but the reason that Dwayne Johnson and his former wife, Danny, created this league was to give guys the opportunity that he didn't get, which was to kind of be the last man left off the roster. Yeah. So he created this league to really be the minor leagues for football, which ever since NFL Europe has disappeared, does not really exist outside NCAA football.
Right.
And too many careers have ended at their senior year of NCAA football that could have probably made the NFL. There's just not enough teams. Yeah. So this is a really great opportunity for a lot of these players. And what's cool, Ray, is these players getting signed creates room for more players, or NFL players to drop down to this level, right? Which is no shame in that, right?
No.
So it is a true minor league football sequence here, and it's not horrible football. Let's just be honest about it. You can watch it, right? Now it might be tough to watch it if you not a fan of the Brahmas, all right? But
I mean, I'd love it if there was a New York franchise, right?
I'd love it if there was another team in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like the greatest AFL team of all time, the Philadelphia Soul, but there's not, and there might be one day though.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's the thing is it continues to grow and expand, and hopefully they'll get to those larger markets. Right now, it's very centralized in Texas and the South.
As most good starting minor leagues are, right? You don't go crazy. And if you look at the starts of most major league sports, that's how they started too. It's a small area of the country.
Yes, absolutely. So good on the UFL, good on those guys for getting those contracts, and congrats to the Birmingham Stallions for winning 25-0, a dominant.
That is a dominant, boring game.
Yes, that is true.
Sounds like an NCAA championship game to me.
Yeah, very much so.
What'd you win by? 6-3. Oh,
yeah.
Great. No one scored a touchdown.
Yeah. There were touchdowns scored here, but just by one team.
No, I know. That's if you're a fan, it's fun.
Yes. speaking of things that are fun, we mentioned last week.
Speaking of things that are fun,
yeah, we talked about our boy Joey Chestnut. We had the whole thing with the hot dogs, and we got them from Five Guys, and
by the way, I might make that a normal segment. Let us know. I was thinking we should do a DoorDash segment where at some point in the show I order something and we see if it shows up on time. I think that would be really fun. DoorDash can sponsor us because DoorDash, something else.
It's something else. Joey Chestnut. This is probably a big way. Obviously, one of the biggest rivalries for Joey Chestnut was a guy named Kobayashi. Years ago, and Kobayashi, who out of Japan, would always
he used to win these things, didn't he? Didn't he?
He would win. He would win until Joey Chestnut came on, and then Joey dominated. Joey dominated that rivalry. Well, with Joey, I guess not taking part in Nathan's this year. Again, because we talked about that last week. Go back to last week's episode if you haven't listened yet. Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi have signed a deal to compete one more time in a hot dog eating contest on Netflix.
Dun-dun.
Dun-dun. Yes. Netflix, of course, now trying to as best as can to get lots of live sports. Obviously, they're going to have the Tyson and Jake Paul fight. Brilliant. And then they're going to have this. And obviously, they're going to have wrestling in January.
Brilliant. Really? Yeah.
I might watch this.
Why wouldn't you watch it? And even if you miss it, just watch the replay. Netflix is making the play for live. We've talked about this for years.
Yes.
Years. That something like this was going to happen. This is a great way to test your live capability. Why would you not do it?
Yeah, 100%.
Dun-dun.
But I think Joey Chestnut's going to win again. So.
Oh, yeah. I might get some nerves here, man. They're not Nathan's hot dogs. They could be Hebrew National. You never know.
You never know. You never know.
I hope they are Hebrew National. They're probably going to be Myers. That would be my guess.
Probably.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Chestnut versus Kobayashi on Netflix. That should be fun. That kind of leads us into our geek section as we transition out of sports. And speaking of things that are streaming services and all that other fun stuff, Star Wars Acolyte Episode 3.
Getting a lot of hate. A lot of hate. No reison for that. Don't understand the hate.
I will say this was a curious episode. Here's the hate that they're getting is unjustified because everybody's freaking out.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Everybody's freaking out. They're space lesbians. What's happening?
I didn't even hear that one. That's pretty funny now. They can't just come up with this. This has existed in Star Wars for like 15 years now. This is not new.
Yes. No, exactly. If anything, I said Shmi should be part of the sisters
Skywalker.
Shmi.
I mean, that would be a hell of a twist, Ray.
And that's how she makes Anakin, and that's why she's the Skywalkers are susceptible to the dark side.
The canon is set that Palpatine did that, but yes, it would be funny.
Yeah, right. Like maybe that's how Palpatine finds her. I don't know because we still don't know who's behind the mask. My thing about this episode, what was curious was the whole episode is a flashback.
Yeah, and it was a good one. It was a good show.
It was good. But I was expecting that we would have gotten seeds of this episode throughout the remaining episodes.
Right.
Whereas we got it all at once. Here it is. Info dump, origin story. It really makes May and Osha very black and white in terms of their characters, which a lot of Star Wars is light side, dark side, right, and all that stuff. But I thought they were going to try to go for more gray with the twins. And instead, they just basically showed May is just batshit insane.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
I'm wondering this, and again, this is just people have such horrible, unrealistic expectations. My guess, Ray, and I could be very wrong, and we'll be able to look back at the end of the series. And I said you should never judge a series until it's done, unless you really can't watch it, right? Like WandaVision was becoming hard to watch.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
This is not hard to watch, but I have every reason to believe that this show is going to be broken up into like a trilogy format, which is what X-Men did so well. If you think about it, right? That was really like a three-prong kind of season.
100%.
So that's what I think is going to happen. There's a reason they told us that story in episode 3 because it rounded out episodes 1 and 2 perfectly.
Yes, it gives us some background now on everybody who died and all that.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. So I believe this is that to me, that was probably the ending of the first 3 as one little unit there, or this is like an interlude, if you will, because I think when we come back this week, we're on to a different situation. Okay. Because we did see May fight Saul and she didn't win. right? It wasn't even close. Like, he's a Jedi Master, right? She couldn't defeat
Yeah.
him so easily. He didn't have a weak spot there. And we do not know who the shadowy figure is. They've also brought in these witches, which are reminiscent of the Night Sisters, from the
100%.
planet of Darthamir, where Darth Maul is from.
Yeah.
Dathomir. I think I said that wrong, but
Dathomir. Yeah.
Dathomir. Thank you. Yeah. So these witches have existed for a long time now. Their fate is not great. We also saw remnants of these witches in Ahsoka. So this is not new.
Yes.
Right. I also love the guts. And this is where Star Wars fans and I sometimes, I shouldn't say this is where Star Wars fans differ at times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are these traditionalist Star Wars fans that believe there's only the Force and there's only the Jedi. And then there's people like us, Ray, that are well read and realize that the Force can be manipulated in many different ways.
Yes.
I love the scene where she talks about the thread,
right?
Which some people call the Force. But
right.
the idea being that the thread is what bonds things together, just like the Force, right?
Right. Exactly. Different people are interpreting this thing. It's not just the Jedi way.
It's interpretation. And I love that people lose their minds over that, because if you look at every major religion on earth, it's a similar story with a different interpretation for the
Eastern
most part.
Orthodox versus Roman or whatever.
That's not true. Like, the stories are very, very similar if you take a
Protestant versus
okay. You know, so my point is that Star Wars emulates this. I love the exploration of the Force. If you ever read the Legends novels now, they've tapped into this many times. That there's different types of Force users. There's also different types of Jedi that use the Force in different ways, from healing to fighting to meditation. There's a lot. The living Force with Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes, we've seen a little bit of already with the Jedi Masters that May has hunted down.
Absolutely. So
Torben just in this meditative state for years.
Right. Like, what costume design could have been a little better on his baldness. Trust me, I know. But the thing is this, is that I'm not hating that. I really don't understand the gripes of a series that's 3 episodes in.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I mean, I literally have no complaints. I want to know what happens next. What more do you freaking want? I want to know what happens next.
You have to wait and see. It's definitely on a wait and see. I approach right now, right? I think they're going to go back and go after, I think, the Wookiee Jedi. I think that's where they left off in episode 2.
But I think it's going to uncover something. Like something new is coming.
There definitely needs to be more of a hook to keep us going, right?
And they did say that May needs to destroy one of the Jedi without a weapon.
Yes.
Whatever that means, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm liking this show a lot. I'm excited to see a Wookiee Jedi. I mean, you know, it's like they gave you Boba Fett riding a Rancor and you complained. Shut up. That was awesome. It was fun.
Yeah.
People.
Well, that's the thing.
Fun watching Star Wars.
Yes. People feel like they need to gatekeep certain things, that only their idea of what Star Wars is Star Wars.
Listen, if there's anything Star Wars has done better than anything else, is it has been able to rectify its mistakes with great storytelling with future projects. Okay.
Yes.
Every year, and I didn't like the sequels. I don't hide that, but they are finding a way to make them even a tiny bit more relevant. You know, I don't think they'll be able to rectify those the way we want them to, but they're finding ways. Right. And the Acolyte has done that as well. And I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm enjoying it so far. It's not my favorite Star Wars thing, but I'm enjoying it so far.
But like, Ray, and this is where I say people are spoiled. It's like, man, it's Star Wars. You got something to do with Star Wars. Like, what do you people want? Like, this is so great. Like, another Star Wars expanding the universe. I do think they'll never be able to get away from that Skywalker time period.
Right.
Okay, but they're trying, and it's not horrible.
Yeah.
It's like Ray, listen to me. I will take this, the good and the bad, over the 17 or whatever years we had nothing.
Yeah.
I'll take this any day of the week over nothing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
Check out the reel I made, by the way, on the Geeks Who Like Sports Instagram, but talking about the unveiling of Darth Maul's double-sided lightsaber and how shocked we all were to see that. Now it's kind of a joke because you have like 17-prong lightsabers. But back then, I've never seen anything like that. Check that out on our Instagram channel, GWLS
Podcast. Yeah, no,
There's no coffee in this mug. It's the wrong mug. Wait.
Wrong. It's your
Got the right
kid's
mug
mug.
now.
There's your mug. There's your geese mug. There you go. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, and that's the other thing people are talking about. I don't know if people are torpedoing it. It's getting a lot worse rating than the Christmas special
it all depends
on Rotten
how it
Tomatoes.
is. Yeah,
I mean, it just.
I don't put any faith in these things anymore. Whether it's fan reviews, I will review it for myself. I don't trust any of you.
No, yeah, and that's
say
the thing.
that.
And look, and I'm not gonna lie, there's 5 episodes left. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe
5.
it stinks. I mean, maybe it will stink. I don't know.
We will say it if it turns horrible. I'll be the first to say, that wasn't fun.
Like, look, again, I was surprised by what they did with episode 3 being a full flashback. I didn't hate it. I was just a little surprised that that's what they did because that's not what I would have done as a writer. But it is what it is.
Again, we still can't judge that until we see where it's going. You might be right about sprinkling it throughout the series, but that might not make sense once we see what's coming next.
That's also true. So
it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting. I also thought it was interesting how the Wookiee Jedi interacted with Osha in that series. Like there's some hints there of foreshadowing. We don't know what's going to come up yet, but
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and look, I get it. There are some things, like I said, I think that they kind of made it a bit more black and white than I was expecting, but that could also change. This could be from Osha's point of view.
Right.
And in her mind, of course, she's going to see herself and the Jedi as the good guys. And May could say that's not what happened at all. And then we get a different story.
A different flashback. Right. Now, from what we saw, do you think that the shadowy Sith person is one of the Night Sister witches?
I don't think so.
I hope not. I don't want
that's the thing. I hope not. I hope that it's somebody else.
But as we know from this thing, people have survived this attack that people don't know exist.
Right.
So I hope it's not one of the witches, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? My only thought is that the witches don't typically use lightsabers. And we know that this being has a red lightsaber.
Well, and the other thing too is that there was this ceremony in the last episode in which the witch, because they're not really the Night Sisters, put something into May. We're not quite sure what that is.
Yes, because she's marked, and the thing is, the Jedi recognized the mark.
Right. It startled
which was interesting. Yes.
Right. So I'm wondering if that whoever has the red lightsaber, I don't want to call him a Sith just yet, but it probably is.
Right.
Manipulating that. We'll find out. The fact we have more questions than answers is good. It means you want to keep watching, right?
Yes. Right, exactly. I mean, look, and like you mentioned WandaVision earlier, maybe it does fall apart by the end. Who knows?
It might.
We'll see.
It might. I'm making no judgment on anything until I see it, other than I'm enjoying it. That's where I'm at right now after episode 3.
Yeah. So, we're really good at predictions, Lee.
We are.
We're really good at predictions.
We should be hired. I'm telling you.
Yeah. And one of the other predictions that we made a while ago, specifically you, was about studios starting to reacquire movie theaters to make sure to help people get their butts in the theaters and also promote their own products in a more direct way.
Imagine that.
Sony, who also usually makes a ton of mistakes, but not here, has acquired Alamo Drafthouse, who had been really struggling. Yeah. Obviously financially, a lot of movie theaters are struggling, but they bought, I'm trying to get the specific numbers if I can. They have 35 locations across the country, including one here in Los Angeles. And they made it basically, they wanted to, a while ago, it was broken up that studios could not own movie theaters because they didn't want the verticals and it was a monopoly and oligarchy and all this. But now with movie theaters basically going belly up without help from the studios.
COVID caused that.
Right. The bans were lifted during COVID for this. And now basically you're starting to see a lot of companies looking at the theater business little by little. And this is a big chance now for Sony. I still don't think anybody's going to go watch Madam Web, but for Sony to maybe Venom 3, I don't know. We'll see.
That does look good.
To get their theater, to help prop up theaters that have been struggling and also promote their films in a way that's very organic to the fans and be like, hey, and make this more experiential to make it worth dropping $20 a ticket and $20 on popcorn and soda and all this other stuff. Lee, what are your thoughts on Sony buying Alamo Drafthouse to the 35 locations and continuing? I mean, we've seen this with Netflix acquiring the Egyptian Theater here in LA. Like, we've seen this on a smaller scale. This is, again, it's only 35 locations, but it's starting to get bigger. And it really does seem like you hit the nail on the head. This was the future for movies. And here we go. Your thoughts, my friend.
I will reiterate, maybe for some of the people that are listening to the show that didn't listen to us in the beginning, it makes a lot of business sense to me for the studios to buy up theaters to promote their own projects. But moreover, I always use Disney as the example. Disney, if you're listening, we're going to put this out as a mini clip. Disney World, Disneyland, wonderful places. You could buy a theater chain and create micro Disney World / land experiences to go to the film for your kids. And you could probably charge more than you're charging for the film. And I'm going to say it again. I'd pay a little bit extra to have a Disney World experience for 2-3 hours on a weekend with my kids. Obviously, your library is vast. Your new films could be in there. You could make this a destination for families.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to take people away from Disney World, because guess what? For every movie ticket, everything you see, you get some sort of discount at Disney World, or you get some sort of incentive to go to Disney World. It makes a lot of sense to me. Now, again, I don't know if I'm in Disney theater, if I only show Disney films. Disney could do that. Sony's not in a position to do that, right? Sony's going to have to show all of them. But I just don't know why there's not an investment to create a real world Disney destination in a theater. Warner Brothers won't do it, but they could do it as well. Several of these studios could buy these things and make an experience, other than spending $15 to $30 with food to sit there for 2 hours for something that may or may not be good. Yeah. Right. And you could do Disney nights, you could do Disney days, you could do retro Disney movies. You think I'm not going to pay? You wouldn't charge full price for a movie ticket, but you think I wouldn't pay to kind of go take my kids to see Aladdin or Lion King in the theater, or Mary Poppins, and go back in time if you want to have a matinee with that kind of stuff? Yeah. These places would be packed, Ray. Yeah, right. No, so I don't understand. And you could buy a subscription. The business sells itself in this regard. I don't know what's holding them back, but Disney, I would love to help you do this. And so would Ray, if you guys need some consultancy on that, but like the Disney experience theater. Yeah. Right. I mean, it sells itself, right? I'm telling you, I would do it now. I would do it now, right? Yeah, for sure. You could do things with school systems and bring them during the day. There's so much you could do. Yeah. And again, AMC movie theaters, kills me right now, because in my childhood, that's where I went. I went to AMC. That was where I got to see all my movies.
They're the largest chain still in the country. They got 600 locations.
And it was run well, and it's like I can't even go in there. The service is so bad. They are understaffed. The staff that's there, I mean, God bless them, but they don't care. They don't care. I mean, I went in there one time, Ray, they didn't even have any popcorn. Like, and it wasn't like it had just run out. They didn't make it. They just, nobody. And it takes 15 minutes to get your popcorn. I've actually been going out to Regal cinemas a lot more, because they just do things a little faster. Yeah. And I think the theater's a little bit better, at least in my area. Yeah. But you're telling me if Disney bought AMC, they couldn't do this, or even, you don't even have to buy a big theater chain. You could have something with just a location in each state.
Well, and that's kind of what Alamo is, right? 35 locations across the country. Again, Regal's the number 2 distributor. Like AMC has 600 locations. I think Regal has 500, 550. Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of there's a lot of quote unquote chains that have only like 25 to 50 locations across the country.
It's a low cost of entry, and you can try, and if it fails for some reason, you can get out pretty quick.
Yeah, but I wasn't able to find a price on what Sony paid for Alamo Drafthouse, but I did find a very interesting stat. There's 4 million loyalty members with Alamo Drafthouse. Smart. Buying almost like you're buying a built-in audience.
Oh my God.
What a concept.
Savvy.
Amazing. You could also, by the way, promote other things like your video games there and all this other stuff. Like Disney makes video games. Well, they license out their video games, but Sony obviously has a lot of video games. And
Disney also has a large tie-in to ESPN. You could do live sporting events.
Live sporting events at the movie
You could do live gaming events. I don't know why these theaters have never caught up. I remember when Fathom events started. Yes. And I was like, oh, it's happening. They're going to do concerts and games. And they just didn't.
They didn't follow through. Yeah.
They just didn't. And it's like, I've seen a concert in a movie theater. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I was glad I went.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the movie theater leadership. They can't figure this out. My guess is that they're sticking to their guns of this is the way it's always been done, which is a surefire way to go bankrupt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You're gonna go bye-bye.
Yeah.
You're gonna go
Netflix,
bye-bye.
Apple, keep your eye on these companies in the next few years for
Absolutely.
theaters.
Well, I mean, again, that's the thing. Netflix bought the Egyptian, which is obviously just the one location here in LA, right? That's their theater, right? And like it's one of those things where, and there's not a lot of singular theaters around the country anymore.
No,
few of them here in LA, obviously, but like I think Quentin Tarantino bought one and redid it, right? Like, but that's what his. And he kind of curates it, which is actually a lot of fun. Actually, where I saw it's the Vistas where I saw Ghostbusters on the big screen for the first time in my life.
That's pretty cool.
A few months ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the 40th
I remember seeing Ghostbusters 2 in the theater.
Yeah. I saw Ghostbusters 2 and I saw Batman, but I was the original Ghostbusters. You were 1 when Ghostbusters came out. I wasn't even born yet.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I remember the second one.
I
was not old enough to go for the first one.
Yeah.
I probably would have screwed him on me.
Probably, but yeah, no. So yeah, this is the future. The future is now. And even that, something else interesting was I was reading some article. Well, not reading, but I was skimming the articles looking for that number. So people were saying that Sony might, because they acquired Funimation Crunchyroll from AT&T a few years ago for $1 billion.
That's right.
You start putting anime and all that other stuff in theaters. You can do anime features and whatnot. What a concept! Just so many options. So many options. Speaking of options and speaking of games and all this other fun stuff, wrapping up our really big story. This happened this morning. It's part of the reason why I'm so tired is because I burning the candle at both ends. Went to bed very late last night after my community theater group, and then 7 a.m. Nintendo did the press conference at 7 a.m. But a huge deal. Nintendo, similar to Microsoft, continuing to laugh at Sony. Speaking of Sony, was like, hey, how about we give just people want games. People want games.
Games.
They start off with a new Mario and Luigi RPG, the first new Mario and Luigi RPG in 9 years, Brotherhood, dropping in November. Give us a release date. Then a new Mario Party Jamboree, all new maps. Dropping in September, I do believe.
These are big names, by the way. These are huge names.
Yeah. Like, by the way, they also had their smaller stuff. They had some nice, fun indie stuff there. They showed some anime stuff, right? They got new Ace Attorney thing from Capcom, all that stuff. Then they're like, we're not done. We're not done. You like your Mario RPG? You like your Mario Party? They're good. They're fun. Legend of Zelda. Brand new Legend of Zelda. September 26th.
Somehow they've been hiding this.
Called Echoes of Wisdom. Nobody knew it was coming.
Nobody.
It's done in the same arts. And this is how Nintendo works, right? They were applauded for the art style they did for Link's Awakening, the remake for the anniversary edition in 2019. It's that same art style. It is a top-down Legend of Zelda. It is coming in 3 freaking months. I had to do the math there.
Yeah.
Brand new. It looks like it takes place right after Link to the Past or around that era. And you play as Zelda.
Brilliant.
The game starts with Link and Ganon fighting, and then Ganon being defeated, dropping his staff, and opening up a dark portal that swallows up Link, and it's up to Zelda to close the portal. It's classic Legend of Zelda. You're playing as Zelda.
Finally.
New mechanics. God cannot wait. Nintendo does it again. And that wasn't even their biggest surprise of the show. I'm going to get to that afterwards, but I want to talk about New Legend of Zelda. It's in the downfall timeline, it looks like. It's taking place in the same style as Link to the Past. You can create stuff. They took the puzzle building elements of being able to take stuff in the environment from Breath of the Wild. They put it into a 2D Zelda. You can take boxes. Zelda has a magic wand. She goes, I'm going to make copies of the boxes and build stairs. I'm going to take copies of water and I'm going to swim up a mountain. I'm going to take copies of trampolines and I'm going to bounce my way up that mountain. And you're playing a Zelda.
Wait, Ray, are you saying that this is actually a Legend of Zelda?
Yes!
Finally.
Yes!
Finally. Zelda has come back to Zelda. I applaud Nintendo for A, hiding this so well, and B, kind of the surprise turn. Also love that Legend of Zelda is so large now that they can have multiple universes going at the same time.
They have 3 universes at the very least. They have 3 universes going at once.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It shows you how much people love the characters. I love this. First off, can we just say extremely overdue?
Yeah.
Okay, extremely overdue. Even Peach got her own time in video games.
Yes.
In Mario 2. All right. So
yes. And she just had a new game come out too earlier this year, which was a lot of fun.
So this is awesome stuff, and I'm looking forward to playing it.
I cannot wait. And also to the people out there who have I've already seen it on the internet.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Who have said Nintendo's gone woke. Zelda's not woke. It's the Legend of Zelda. She's as much of me. She's always been here. She was sheep, for Christ's sake, in Ocarina of Time.
What's woke about?
She's the best character. She's one of the best characters in Smash Brothers.
I don't understand what's woke about it. Please explain, haters. We'll put this on TikTok. That's where all the haters live. Tell us what's woke about The Legend of Zelda starring Zelda.
Unbelievable.
Yes, she was chic. You're right. This is not new.
Morons.
The bus.
Just have fun. Have fun.
Yes,
the game looks fun.
Star Wars and Zelda morons. You're in front of the bus this week.
Yes.
I'm putting you in front of the bus.
All the morons. Yes.
We're gonna need a bigger bus.
Speaking of female protagonist heroes, and then Nintendo drops the biggest bomb.
Oh yes, you did tell me about this. This is exciting.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. They teased it 7 years ago. We hadn't heard anything about it. 2025.
Boom. Boom.
They showed off amazing gameplay, a new villain that had 2 Metroids on his shoulders, almost like a bad guy would hold like 2 like Dobermans or something on a leash. He had 2 Metroids like on leashes are behind him as he's storming the world. And there's Samus with her Buster ready to start blasting him in the Space Pirates. Looks phenomenal. My only question is, and this is because this is how, is this going to be one of the last titles for the Switch, or is this going to be one of the first titles for Switch 2?
That's a good question. We'll find out.
Yeah, we are going to find out. I do believe. Look, Nintendo has admitted they have the Switch 2. It is coming.
I imagine they're going to call that the Super Switch, right?
I hope they call it the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it should be Nintendo Super Switch.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah,
the Super Nintendo Switch. That's what I would call it.
Super
Nintendo Switch. Yeah, that would be a cool name.
Yeah. Or even just the Super Switch.
Super Switch works. Yeah, I just think I think they're gonna want Nintendo in there because right now it's Nintendo Switch, right? It's a Super Nintendo Switch.
Super Nintendo Switch. Yeah, no, it makes the most sense. Very curious. We know it's coming. Nintendo said it's coming. They've said it. The question is when. We did not get anything about that. But again, if we know it's coming next year, we believe it's coming next year. And the thing is that's why I wonder if Metroid Prime is either the swan song for the Switch, like the sunset, like this, because that's what Nintendo usually does. They usually do one last big title on their old system,
right?
And then they usually do one big title to kick off their next system.
Well, and sometimes they're available on both. But
yes, like Twilight Princess was, yes.
Right, and that's what I imagine. Look, the brilliance of them not announcing Ray is that if it's not quite ready yet, because Nintendo doesn't do anything until it's ready. Right. But this is probably a strong enough title that they can say, next year we need another year, or we need another 6 months. And then they can put that onto the Switch now, or they could say, "Hey, listen, Switch 2 is coming next year, and we're going to wait for that." I mean, people will forgive mostly anything.
Yes.
My gut is that this thing is done. They're ready to unveil it, but the thing is this, and this is the truth: why unveil it when you're getting so many dollars on the normal Switch? You don't need to unveil it yet, right? They look in macro terms, they look long term, right? You're still buying games for Switch, right? In fact, I would buy games for Switch for a while. I mean, I don't even know how much better these things can get, to be honest with you. But I guess we did say that 20 years ago. Like, how much better can it get? It's 3D.
Yeah.
And then, Elon Musk makes the Cybertruck, which was literally in GoldenEye.
I was going to say, he's trying to make us go backwards.
We're going backwards, just like animation and major motion pictures. Backwards. There's been a lot of talk lately about how, like, the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield was probably the peak of that type of CGI and animation. And they're not wrong. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we've taken a step back from that, and we know that because it's been reported that they're paying less, they're rushing
Right.
work.
Right. They're going
out.
quantity over quality now.
Which I think Marvel, or I should say, Marvel has figured out, the MCU's figured out we probably shouldn't do that because fans are picking.
Yeah, no, they're pumping the brakes. They're pumping the brakes. They're wisely. Bob Iger was like, I'm back now.
You're being stupid.
Yeah.
Quality over quantity. That's the Disney way.
Yeah.
This has been a good show, right?
This
Let's use the matchup because we just talked about it. Zelda, huge geek thing.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a mashup this week. You can't ignore Zelda. So the question is, which current athletes would you want to see, or who could survive in a Legend of Zelda universe? That's going to be this week's mashup coming out Saturday. Want to know what you think? You can comment below on this video, or you can comment below on the mashup if it's out. It's probably out if it's after Saturday. Enjoy it, my friends. We'll see you on the next episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. For Ray, I'm Lee. I'm Ray. You're Lee. Good night, everybody. Go ahead. I'll let you do it for real, Ray.
No, that was great. Until you mixed up the names again. That would have been perfect.
For Ray, I'm Lee. We'll see you on the next Sports People Who Love Geekdom Properties.
No. Okay, I'll just do it. All right. For Lee, I'm Ray. This has been another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Ray's show. I'm just living in it.